I'm Dr. Carrie Wise, founder of JoyfulDVM, and today I want to talk about discomfort. Specifically, what I want to talk about is how avoiding discomfort is actually ruining your life. Yeah, you heard me right. Avoiding discomfort is ruining your life. Now, I know that probably sounds a little bit counterintuitive because so many of us believe that if we are feeling discomfort, it means that something is going terribly wrong. First off, let's just define what I'm even talking about when we say discomfort. I'm talking about emotions like uncertainty or judgment or shame, guilt, inadequacy, embarrassment, confusion, disappointment, stress, anxiety. So all of these things that we're very, very familiar with in the veterinary world. This feeling of discomfort that can encompass any of those and many of those at the same time. So many of us think that because we're feeling those negative emotions, because we're feeling uncomfortable, that it means that something is going wrong. And what I want you to entertain is the idea that there's nothing going wrong at all and that the discomfort is actually a really good thing. If we can embrace the idea that feeling uncomfortable does not mean that things are going out of whack and that you're not doing it wrong, then that really opens up all kinds of possibility for you. Right now, because so many of us believe that when we're feeling stressed out or anxious, we're feeling nervous, even feeling some shame and guilt, we think that those emotions just mean that we aren't meant to do this job, that if we were really doing the jobs that we were cut out to do, that we wouldn't feel this way. Or that if we were doing the jobs right, that's another one, if we were doing them the right way, that we wouldn't feel this way. And what I want you guys to see is that's not the truth at all. That feeling negative emotion is just part of the normal human experience. And no matter what job you're in, this is going to come up. The feelings of inadequacy, the feelings of judgment and uncertainty and fear and even disappointment and stress, those things are all just part of life. Now, veterinary medicine just gives us lots of opportunity to feel these like tenfold for sure. But where we miss the boat is that we think that because we picked this career, that's why we feel this way. And I promise you, if you talk to people who've been in veterinary medicine and have gotten out of veterinary medicine to go into a totally different career field, they will share with you that these same emotions come up again and again. So the solution is not leaving our jobs. It's just learning to manage our emotional well-being. We just don't understand it, which is why we have so much trouble with it. The problem is, though, because we don't understand emotional adulthood, we don't understand the positive and negative balance of emotions, which is by design, 50-50 by design is the way that it's supposed to be. We're supposed to feel negative emotion as part of our human experience. That's how we actually can appreciate positive emotion. Without the contrast, we wouldn't know the difference. But because so much of our upbringing has been geared toward avoiding negative emotion just by the nature of our culture, then what happens is that misunderstanding of emotion creates regret. So when we misunderstand discomfort, we actually end up creating a lot of regret for ourselves because the natural place that our mind likes to go is by offering us these sentences and these beliefs that maybe we aren't cut out for vet med, maybe we never should have done this job, maybe we shouldn't have taken out all those student loans, because if I'm unhappy, then obviously this wasn't the right choice for my life. That creates regret, and it's just because we misunderstand the discomfort. We misunderstand those uncomfortable emotions. Now, let's take that one step further and look at what happens out of that. When we have these beliefs that we're doing it wrong, that we're not cut out for this job, and all of that, those emotions actually then lead us to make decisions and to behave in ways that we wouldn't normally do. So those kinds of decisions are quitting our jobs, for one thing. We are unhappy in our jobs, we're uncomfortable in our jobs, and so many of us think the problem is the job, and so we change jobs. So this is my job hoppers out there, and I am a full-fledged founding member of the job hoppers. I get this one completely. And the thing of it is, it works for a while, right? It works for a while because when you leave the negative situation, then you get into a different situation, everything is better for a while. But then if you've done this more than one time, you recognize that over time, those same things happen again and again and again. And your brain wants to tell you that it's just vet med, that this is just the way it is and it's always going to suck. And so therefore you shouldn't be in it, because if you're in it, you're going to feel bad. But what we miss, because we just don't understand it, is that the emotion, the discomfort that we feel isn't because of the job. It's all created by our perspective. It's all created by the things that we're thinking about in relation to that job. That's why it happens again and again. It's not that every place sucks. It's just that we don't have the skills to understand what's going on and to actually manage our own emotional well-being. Other things that we do to try to get away from discomfort is trying to control everything. I know you guys are very much like me. We're a bunch of achievers. We have a lot of type A personality, and we like everything to go exactly the way that we think it needs to go. That means people need to show up on time for their appointments. Technicians need to do their jobs. Clients should always follow our advice. Patients should always get better, right? Wouldn't that be wonderful? But you guys also know, because I'm sure you're pretty frustrated, that you don't have hardly any control over any of that at all. And so even though we want to control all these things, and we believe that if all these things happen, particularly in that order, that we'll feel happy, the truth is we don't have control over those things, and those things won't make us happy anyway, because it's not the actions of other people that actually create happiness within us. It's not the actions of other people that decrease stress within us either. So we are trying to avoid discomfort by controlling everything around us, because we think then we can control the outcomes. If everything goes according to plan, then the patients will get better and the clients will be happy. And if patients get better, that means I'm doing it right. And if clients are happy, that it means I'm doing it right. This is like the biggest stack of lies there is. We just don't know another way, so we don't even realize that that's false. But what I want you to hear right now is that those things do not create happiness or contentment or lack of stress in our lives at all. And actually, patient outcomes and client reactions are nothing you can control ever. They're not your responsibility. This is something as a culture that we absolutely miss. Our responsibility for somebody else's feelings does not exist. We do not create emotion in other people. If this is all brand new to you, these ideas that I'm talking about today on this Facebook Live, then I definitely want you to jump over and join the webinar. It's joyfuldvm.com/webinar. And I go into this in more detail, and I describe exactly where emotion comes from. Because, my friends, we have to understand where the emotion comes from if we are ever going to manage the anxiety and stress that we feel in veterinary medical jobs. Otherwise, if we never understand what creates emotion in the first place, and if we don't understand our ability to completely control it for ourselves, which means you can be happy in a crappy work environment, by the way, because it's not the environment that's the problem. And actually, once you learn to be happy, you realize it's probably not that crappy anyway. But all this to say, like, if you want to understand how this works, want to understand where the emotion comes from, and really start to understand how much power you do have and how you are not a victim of your circumstances, and how the avoiding discomfort has actually held you back in the life that you're supposed to have, then I want you to join that webinar. It's totally free, joyfuldvm.com/webinar. I have tons of dates available. I want you to jump in there and learn some skills, learn the information that really is going to change everything for you. Because without this information, you're going to continue going through your life trying to avoid discomfort because you're equating discomfort with meaning that you're doing it wrong. And I want you to hear that you're doing it exactly right. The discomfort that you feel is all just part of the human experience. It does not mean that you're in danger. It does not mean that everything is going terrible. It does not mean that you picked the wrong job. It actually just means, quite honestly, that you're growing and that you're starting to lean into more of what your future holds.